Hey everyone, welcome back to the KetonExpress Summit. Today we're here with Kimberly from Keto Kim, and she has an awesome Instagram following. So Kimberly actually started on the ketogenic diet when she was in college, and her friend introduced her. And she's now a nurse, but she was in nursing school at the time. And so she started educating herself on nutrition labels and micronutrients and macronutrients, whole foods, and tracking all these different things. And obviously it's right up her alley as a nurse. But in March of 2015, she launched at Keto Kim, which is her Instagram outlet. And originally it was just for her to start sharing recipes and the foods that she was creating on a ketogenic diet. But she found out that there was a huge demand for information and ideas there. And so she's built an amazing following. So welcome, Kim. So great to have you on the KetonExpress Summit today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So now tell us about your keto journey then. What made you decide to start to try the ketogenic diet?
Mm-hmm. So my best friend, she's she's probably done like every diet like known to man, like a popcorn diet, like literally everything.
Okay. Wow.
Her and like her mom had like kind of gotten into a lot of like the Atkins type of like diet. So she was already familiar with like more of like a low carb diet, and she kind of recommended it. Like I had also like torn my ACL a couple years ago. So like back in high school, I partially torn it, and then I was in college, completely tore it. So it kind of like limits me a little bit as far as like, what exercises I could have done at the time and stuff. So I was like looking into something that was more like less exercise required and things like that. Yeah. So she recommended like a low carb diet. So that's where I like originally started. And then when I was like kind of doing research is when I like got into like the ketogenic type diet, because I really started getting into like more of the science and things like that. But it had started more of like looking into like an Atkins type diet. And then I really familiarized myself more with like a ketogenic type of way.
Yeah.
And then I know like Maria Emmerich and stuff like that. Like I had like really started like looking into her like blogs and like reading up on
and
a lot of
following her and all her really good ideas and information.
Yep. Yeah. So I kind of like self-educated myself, and then I kind of like made myself a resource for other people, because it's like I think people like do need to educate themselves more on like like how your body is processing this particular diet and things like that. So
yeah, I think that's good advice. Like just educating themselves on what your body needs. But then also I had someone give me this advice once, and I think it's been the best advice. And she told me that like the best thing you can do for your body is learn to listen to your body, because everybody's body's different, and what works for one person doesn't work for everybody. Right.
That's very true. And it does go the same way with like a ketogenic diet too. Everyone says, I think everyone needs to find a different like breakdown of like macronutrients and stuff, like your like carbs, proteins, fats, things like that. Like it's not going to be the same for everyone. Our bodies are all made a little bit differently. Some people have different like, illnesses and stuff that could affect the way their body is processing certain foods and stuff. So I think you really just need to like kind of listen to your body too. I do that too a lot. Like on days that I'm like exercising more, like I tend to like, be a little more lenient, I guess, with my carbs. I'm a lot more strict on days that I know that I'm not really going to be exercising as much. So I think that you really need to just kind of like listen to your body, like you were saying.
Yeah. Well, cool. And we're going to talk about the keto diet as it relates to exercise here in a minute too. But what was kind of your biggest challenge in getting started on a ketogenic diet? What was the hardest thing for you?
The hardest thing is probably like social events is kind of tough. I mean, once you really familiarize yourself more with it, I find it to be easier. Like in the beginning, like I was looking up like all the time, like what is the different, like, like breakdown of all different foods I was eating. Like I was really tracking things like very specifically, and like going out to like restaurants and stuff, you really have to be cognizant of like, what they're using. Like there's a lot of like hidden, like the carb creep, like a lot of like hidden carbs and stuff like that. So I found it to be a little hard, like it's like socially, but I've gotten like a lot more used to it. I find that like I don't need to be as like crazy about looking up like different foods. Like I know like pretty much the like carb count, like fat count, protein count, a lot of different
main
ingredients in
things.
food.
Yeah.
So it's gotten easier. I do find that was like hard. And also like while I was in school, like I was always like packing my food and stuff, but I did find meal prepping to be very helpful. I would always like bring my food with me. I'd heat it up like at the cafeteria at school. And I just find that like prepping your own food, at least you know what's in it. So that helped me. Cause I do find that people that get stuck in kind of a rut of like always going out to eat and stuff, like you don't really know what they're kind of like.
Yeah. And it's hard because you don't want to be that person that's like, so what's in this and what's in that and what's in it? And then everybody's like, would you order already? Right.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how much sugar, like that you wouldn't even think you can eat something that can have added sugar in it. And you wouldn't even think it had sugar in it. Like you just don't assume that there's sugar added to things that they do, like soups and sauces and things that don't taste sweet. So,
and like starches too. I know in a lot of soups, like they'll add different like thickeners and stuff. Like, I mean, not necessarily that we'd be using them at home, but like they do use a lot of like additional like thickeners and stuff for like restaurants. And then,
yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I had another gal was talking about eating out on a ketogenic diet, Lynn from Traveling Low Carb, and she was cool because she talked about how she actually studies the menu before she goes, so she knows a little bit about what's in it. And I think that's an awesome resource now because we can go online and do that. Yeah,
I do the same thing. I tend to always like kind of look. You can always like look what's on like other options on the menu, like things you can kind of substitute in. I don't find that people like places give you like too much of a hard time. I find it's gotten a lot easier, I think, over time too. I think I'm just like, I might be used to it now too.
Yeah.
But you kind of like know what to look for and things like that. But like, it's even surprising, like something as like simple as like eggs. Like when you go to like IHOP, for instance, like they add like, you know, like pancake batter to like their eggs, and you would,
yeah,
and you wouldn't like expect that, but they do. Like it's not like just eggs.
It's not just eggs. Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, you kind of do have to do your research a little bit, but
yeah. Oh, very cool. All right.
You're still able to eat out.
So you are a runner, Kimberly, and so what kind of obstacles have you found as a runner practicing a ketogenic diet? Is it hard for you to get your macros right? What's the challenges?
Not necessarily. I'm pretty good at being like strict if I need to, especially if I have like a race coming up or something. Because I do find that if I like were to have like a cheat day or something like right before a race, it is a lot harder. And I do find I get like fatigued more, and I just feel like my body. Yeah. I find like when you're like really like fat adapted and like your body is used to that type of process, your body is just running solely on fat. So it's, you know, we have a lot more fat stores than we do like glycogen stores. So when when
your body can do that easily. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like when my body's like used to running that way, I find it's a lot easier.
But when you start having those cheat days and throwing in the carbs, then your body gets confused and it has a harder time going back into that fat adapted mode.
Yeah, because then it's just like your body's confused. It's like, you know, I'm so used to like running this way.
Yeah.
You know, I think you really just like if you're going to be consistently running, like sticking to strictly like a fat adapted process of running. I find like I've like personally through running, I've found that like it's easier for me to actually run fat adapted versus like running with carbohydrates. So, I mean, I guess everyone's different, but
yeah, no, that's true. And so another piece of advice that was given here on the summit, I think is Drew Manning. He talked about when you're first trying to get into that fat adapted state, not to do a lot of intense cardio or athletic activities. And I'm listening to what you're saying. It just clicked for me. It's because, well, your body's trying to get into that fat adapted state. It's going to have a harder time switching back and forth. And so it's going to feel tired and like it needs more carbs because that's what it's used to. But you're saying once you're in that keto adapted space, it's actually harder to run on carbs. So that's making a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, it's like it's good, especially if you're like really getting into like running, to start out with maybe like a moderate intensity at first, like kind of like maybe a slower but more steadier like mile pace, just because like it's a slower process, your body like switching over to like a fat adapted like process of running. So like I find that like once you're kind of used to it and you've adapted to running off of like your fat stores, it's like running off glucose, that you can kind of increase to like a more higher intensity. But I do find that if you are going to be like trying to run like a 7-minute mile, that you're going to need to actually increase your carbs a little bit. But it's like we were saying before, you kind of have to listen to your body. It's like you have to like add them in, you know. Whatever.
Well, it'll be interesting to follow your journey because you said you're in the process of getting into more long distance running.
Yeah.
So, you know, half marathons and marathons. It'll be interesting to learn from what you're finding as far as what your body needs in order to do that, whether you can do it fully keto adapted or if you're going to need more carbs to do it.
Yeah, I'm actually like intrigued to see how it's going to go because like I mean, with something like a 5K, you don't necessarily need to worry about like if you're going to need to like have any type of like fuel like during a race because you don't. It's such a, like a short distance compared to like a half marathon. But you know, some people say they're a little different. Like some people run them completely like fasted. So even with like a 5K or something, there's like the people that like might want to have like a bulletproof coffee or something in the morning. They say like coconut oil helps us like burn fat easier as well. So some people like prefer to have like a coffee with coconut oil or something before, or just to not eat at all, which is actually what I do. I usually like, if anything, I might have a coffee before I run, but I tend to just run like completely fasted for like something like a 5K. But I feel like for something like with a half marathon, a lot of people say like they'll bring like coconut oil with them if they do have any
consume it during the race, the MCT or MCT oil. Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it'll be a little experiment for myself because you know, kind of.
Well, we'll have to be sure and watch you and see what you discover in that process. Okay. So what are some things that you see people doing wrong on a ketogenic diet? What are things that people are just, you see and you're like, okay, that's not right. Don't do that.
I find especially in the beginning, I think you really do need to like kind of track what you're eating and stuff. I mean, not that like calories are super important with like a ketogenic diet, but I think people tend to go a little bit like a little crazy sometimes. Like, just not being like as cognizant, I guess, of like how much they're necessarily eating or like carb creep type thing. Like they're not really noticing like all the like extra carbs that they're kind of getting. So it helps. Like I love like using like a MyFitnessPal app and stuff like that and kind of adding things in. I found that always worked for me.
Yeah. Well, and again, like in the beginning, you're still not quite keto adapted. And so your body's not as efficient as burning the fat. So if you're eating, 4,000 calories, let's just say, in a day, and it's all fat and protein, I mean, that's great. It's ketogenic, but maybe your body doesn't know what to do with it yet. So it's still going to store it as fat, right?
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, it's like a slow, I mean, it is a learning process too, though. I mean, it takes you, it's like a lot of trial and error too. And there's a lot of like research, and I find people too like tend to like start having a lot more like cheat days and stuff too, which will really throw you off, especially with something like keto. Like you don't realize how much like your body just gets like so fatigued, it has to completely like reset itself and like detox and like get back into like a like process of burning fat for energy. So it's difficult once you like really knock yourself out. And I think like once people start like cheating, it just like, becomes like more of a,
you just make it harder on yourself, right?
Yeah, it stinks having to like get back into ketosis if you've like really knocked yourself out. So I mean, I've been there, we've all been there.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. So it's the not tracking their foods and then having too many cheats. Okay. Very cool.
Not making their own foods too. That's
and what?
Like not really making their own foods too.
So like, trying to eat out too much.
Or like eating a lot of processed food. I think that's a big thing too. People like will buy a lot of pre-made things and they may like say they're lower in carbs or like it has all this additional like sugar and like starches and things like that. Like, because it
just does creep up.
It's better if you just make it yourself, really like even something as simple as like like mashed cauliflower or something, like has all this extra stuff in it. So
Yeah.
you're better off sometimes just making
Just
it
make
yourself.
your own.
I understand not everyone can have the
Yeah.
means to do
So
so.
do what you can, but try and make more at home. So and you probably get more in touch with what's in when you do it yourself too, right?
Yeah, I like to know what I'm like eating, especially, I mean, like working in a hospital. I mean, you can imagine what's kind of like in the cafeteria.
Oh yeah.
Like, so I don't know. I like to, like, if I can, have my own food.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, it always tastes better when you make it. All right. So what are some of your tips for sticking? We talked a little bit about this at the beginning. What for sticking with your ketogenic diet, like in social settings, like whether it's eating out or at a party or friend's house? What are some things that you do?
I like to come prepared. Like, I kind of like to know kind of like what I'm going to be eating, that type of thing. I also find that if I like bring something that I know that I can eat, it helps too. Like, even on like something like holidays, like if it's like Thanksgiving's pretty easy. A lot of the stuff is like, you can get away with, like,
Yeah, you can eat turkey.
like vegetables, things like that you can actually eat. But when it's like, when I know there's going to be a lot of things that like I can't eat, or if there's like a party or something, like a lot of my friends do like potlucks and stuff. So I'll bring stuff that I know I can eat, which I think helps too. Or like if I'm going to be eating out, like I'll look at the menu or like try to suggest places that I know I can eat. And I mean, a lot of like people will work with you too. So I mean, a lot of my friends know like certain things that I won't eat or places that I don't really typically go to. So.
Okay. Well, cool. Yeah. No, those are good tips. Important. All right. So now what would be your advice for someone who's wanting to get started on a ketogenic diet? What's like your parting advice for them to have more success and get better results?
I would like definitely recommend, like, first of all, like ridding your house of everything that is sugar laden and not ketogenic.
Carbs. Okay.
Yeah, just like having the temptation around, especially in the beginning, isn't really going to help. Definitely like doing your research. I really think it's important to understand the ketogenic diet before getting started and really like knowing your body too. Like, I mean, like they can always like talk to like a physician or someone, kind of like get an idea of what's going to work best for them. I would recommend like using like a calculator, like a ketogenic calculator, see based on like, you know, your lifestyle, like how much you're exercising, things like that, like what your macronutrient breakdown should be, and then it's like meal prep and do like tracking your food. I think tracking food is like really important. I think you really need to like see what you're like really eating and like, you know, the breakdown of everything. It really helps to have it as like a visual. I've just always found it helpful for myself.
Okay. So get rid of the food, track your food. And then you said, you know, get some advice, do your research, find out what your macronutrients should be, and then you're smooth sailing. You can do this.
Yeah. And like, I do find too, like, at least I know like our community on Instagram is like very like supportive too. I find that, that for me was actually very helpful. Cause like when I had initially gotten started, I was like, oh, whatever. Like, it's just a place for me to like put like, you know, recipes and food that like my family and friends probably don't really care about.
Yeah.
And, you know, I kind of like evolved from there. And I find that like a lot of people that are like kind of, you know, doing a similar type of diet or like on a similar type of journey, they're very supportive. The Instagram community is very supportive, just online in general. I think that it helps to kind of be in like some type of like support group or have other people to reach out to, or like kind of bounce ideas off each other, share recipes. It was really helpful, especially for me in the beginning.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's been stated more than once on this summit as well. So find a community that you can connect with that's going to help and support you on your ketogenic journey. And so, Kim, where can they find you on Instagram? What's your Instagram handle for those who are watching?
It is at Keto_Kim.
At Keto_Kim on Instagram. And I know she's going to be launching a blog or a website in the future. So stay tuned and watch for that as well. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much, Kim. It's been great to have you. And you probably prefer to be called Kimberly. But thanks for being on the summit today. Appreciate your insight and your wisdom, and look forward to following you more in the future.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Have a great day.